Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Final farewells in Texas for President George Herbert Walker Bush yesterday. I'm Mark Liverman, and I'll have more from his funeral in Houston, including a 70-mile train trip to his burial.
And you know what could really ruin your day on one of these cold mornings? Frozen pipes. Coming up, how to avoid what could be a costly inconvenience. Good morning to you. Welcome to your Friday. I am Missy O'Malley. Chet Lehman is off today. Matt Elwell will have our forecast in a few moments. Our top story for you right now, the week of national mourning for President George Herbert Walker Bush has come to an end. After 3 days of lying in state in the Capitol Hill, a funeral at the nation's cathedral, and another service at a church in Houston, the nation's 41st president was laid to rest yesterday. CBS's Mark Liverman is in New York with our latest.
Final farewells in Texas for President George Herbert Walker Bush yesterday. A funeral was held at St. Martin's Episcopal Church in Houston, where he and his late wife Barbara were members for more than 50 years.
He left a simple yet profound legacy to his children, to his grandchildren, and to this country: service.
James Baker, the president's Secretary of State and longtime friend, called him a charter member of the greatest generation.
Our glory, George, was to have had you as our president and as such a friend.
Following the service, the nation's 41st president was placed on a train marked 4141 for a 70-mile trip to his burial on the grounds of the Bush Presidential Library. Thousands of residents in small towns along the way gathered to wave goodbye.
It's unbelievable. I mean, as soon as it passed, it's like you take a moment for yourself and really to reflect.
In College Station, 2,000 cadets saluted the hearse as it drove up to the library. Navy jets flew overhead in the missing man formation. And a 21-gun cannon salute, all in tribute to the late president's service as a World War II combat pilot.
Somebody who dedicated basically their entire life to our country. That's the example we want to follow.
Mr. Bush was buried alongside Barbara and their daughter Robin, who died in 1953. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
Now, the public will be allowed to visit his burial site beginning tomorrow. Matt joins me now. So many moving, beautiful pictures in that. It's been amazing to reflect on that all week. And you mentioned you were at College Station. You've been to College Station.
Yeah, I've been there. I've never been to the library, but I will.
Yes, put it on the list.
Yeah.
Put it on the list. Put it on the list also to give us some warmer temperatures.
It's on the list, but I don't control the weather. Remember the disclaimer yesterday? Temperatures are going to be on the cold side. This is a look into Bozeman this morning. It looks cold outside. Most areas dealing with very cold temperatures, especially in northeast Montana. Most areas in southwest Montana at or slightly below zero. A little warmer out in west Yellowstone, sitting at 7 degrees. Clear skies to start the day. Looks like our temperatures will top out into the mid-20s today. We do have warmer weather on the way, as Missy was asking for. We'll talk about your complete forecast coming up.
All I want for Christmas. Thank you, Matt. It is now 6:32, and let's stay on topic for a moment. With the temperatures extremely low right now, a lot of people might be having problems with frozen pipes in their homes. MTN's Emma Hamilton has more on what to do if this happens to you.
It's alarming to realize you have no water, and it's most likely because your pipes are frozen. They can freeze for various reasons.
Having too many materials around a meter that doesn't allow it to stay warm, and in a crawl space situation, having a vent open which allows cold air to come into the crawl space.
This is something that is completely preventable this winter season. Alston says making sure you know where your water shutoff is, inspecting your meter and seeing how warm it is around it, making sure there's space around the meter, and ensuring you don't have cold air entering the meter should save you from frozen pipes. If they do freeze, a common household item does the trick to warm them back up.
This is what we carry with us, is to have a hair dryer. The hair dryer is the safest way to thaw out a water service. The fire department will tell you, you don't want to use a torch, you don't want to have an open flame.
In Bozeman, Emma Hamilton, MTN News.
And of course, if you do need help with your frozen pipes, you can call City Shops and they will walk you through it. Now, of course, it's been very cold in Bozeman and in Butte the last few days, and the chances are your pets have also been very cold when they go outside. Gallatin Valley Veterinary Hospital says it's best to keep your pets inside as much as possible in these frigid temperatures. If you do go out on a walk, it is best to shorten your normal route and to make sure they have protective gear to prevent frostbite. And as a reminder, those frozen ponds at the parks are not the safest places to play.
Keeping them on a leash is best, and trying to limit the areas to maybe shallow ice if you're going to have any contact with ice, but I certainly wouldn't go anywhere near a deep lake or somewhere that would put either of you in danger, because it can quickly become a fatal situation.
And the doctor adds, if you have a jacket on, your pet probably needs one too. And Butte police will be getting the pay raise they've been pushing for during the past year. Butte's Council of Commissioners approved the pay raise to an 8-4 vote on Wednesday evening that will give police a 2% raise and then raise the median pay of long-serving officers to better match law enforcement departments from other cities in the state.
I, as the sheriff, ask a lot of the officers. We as a community demand a lot of the officers, and they see things that nobody should have to see. They do things nobody should have to do, and it's only right that they're paid fairly when compared to the other officers around the state.
Now, those officers should be seeing their pay raise kick in by spring, and it will cost taxpayers about an additional $428,000. And as the lame duck session of Congress goes into its home stretch in Washington, Montana's delegation has a few items on its wish list to finish up. And that list includes the Farm Bill, environmental and forest legislation, and something for selected Vietnam vets. MTN's Mike Dennison gives us the lowdown on what may happen.
Montana's 3-member delegation has several items they'd like to see passed by Congress in the coming days. Reauthorization of the Farm Bill and the Land and Water Conservation Fund, a bill to ban mining around Yellowstone Park, money for national park maintenance, and federal recognition of the Little Shell Indian tribe. The delegation's 2 Republicans, Senator Steve Daines and Congressman Greg Gianforte, also are pushing a bill to streamline approval of logging and other projects on national forests. Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester says he's not sure that type of bill will make it.
If we're able to allow the Forest Service to do its work, certainly open to taking a look at other forest management plans going forward. But the problem has been they get very, very controversial in a hurry.
Tester is hoping to reach agreement on a bill to help Blue Water Vietnam veterans with medical issues. These vets were stationed offshore during the Vietnam War, but were affected by the drift of the toxin Agent Orange. Tester also hopes an agreement on border security can happen, but that issue is highly political right now. Congress passed a bill Thursday to fund the government for 2 more weeks while members discuss whether to fund President Trump's border wall. Daines and Gianforte have been supportive of the wall. Tester says the southern border needs more security measures, but he's not sure a wall is a good investment of taxpayer money.
That wall is going to cost somewhere between $24 and $32 million per mile. The wall may look good to some people, but the truth is it's a wall. And as the threat changes, it remains a wall. A wall from sea to shining sea treats the taxpayer of this country like an ATM.
We have 2 or 3 weeks to go until Congress is done for the year. We'll find out if these other issues can clear the wall, so to speak. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And just a note, bills that are not approved by the year's end must be reintroduced to the new Congress next year. In other news, a new report released yesterday suggests Montana's infrastructure is in some serious need of investment. The report, compiled by the American Society of Civil Engineers, looked at 10 key areas from schools to solid waste. Overall, the report gave Montana a C rating, higher than the average, which is a D+. Montana's railways and solid waste systems received the highest grades, with schools and stormwater systems receiving the lowest grades. Other areas like energy and drinking water are considered mediocre and requiring attention. The report's organizers say more investment is necessary to maintain these systems, and that it's not just visible infrastructure that needs help.
You see the roads, but what you don't see is the underground infrastructure, water, wastewater, sewer. That stuff I liken similar to a person's heart. It's not visible, but it's critical to everything that person does. Same with our infrastructure that's underground.
Now, in addition to including more spending on infrastructure in the state's budget, another possible solution is creating revenue from millions of tourists who visit the state each year. And in Great Falls, an arrest warrant has been issued for 2 suspects facing charges of human trafficking and sexual abuse of children. In November, a victim under the age of 13 claims she saw a photo of Eugene Edwin Shirnbandi, and the news told investigators that she had been sexually abused by him. Now, the victim recalls being 4 or 5 years old at the time of the incident. She says she remembers a conversation between her and Shirnbandi and Karina Marie Mountain Chief. The victim says Shirnbandi and Mountain Chief injected her arm with a drug using a needle, and that Shirnbandi gave Mountain Chief money after the incident. Shirnbandi is facing 3 charges, all felonies. Mountain Chief is charged with 2 felonies, and a bond for each has been set at $250,000. And a hunter is speaking out after a shooting and a killing of a grizzly bear last month in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. Cody Klotz was elk hunting near Gibson Reservoir in a spot locally known as Gobbler's Knob. Klotz says a male grizzly bear approached and began circling him. He described the bear as being in its teens, close to 600 to 700 pounds. Klotz says he feared for his life, and that's the reason he shot and killed that bear. Well, it is time for a quick break, and in just a moment, we're going to look at the day that will live in infamy, December 7th, 1941. We take a look back with a very special guest who joins us in the studio. Meet World War II veteran Marine Bud Knighton. He's back with us to take a look back. But first, let's check in with John Dickerson to see your headlines coming up at CBS here at 7.
Good morning ahead on CBS this morning. A major storm sweeps from coast to coast, affecting more than 50 million Americans. We're in California, where mudslides tore through wildfire-damaged towns. We'll let you know what you can expect as the storm moves east. And only on CBS this morning, Shawn Mendes, Janelle Monáe, Alessia Cara, and Zane Lowe of Apple Music help us reveal the top Grammy Award nominees. See you with all that at 7.